Hey there, how's everybody doing? This is Psych Monkey 911, or I should say this is Danny Ray Kerm Jr. with Psych Monkey 911 looking over my shoulder, bringing another interview to you today. Today we're going to interview a social worker who through her career has been both a social worker and a magistrate. I'm going to pause the recording for a moment until she knocks at the door, and then we will rejoin you and I'll introduce her to you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor today is knocking at the door. Let's let her in. All right, while she checks her audio, as I made the joke last time, drum roll, please. One guaranteed old man bad joke every time. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
All right, so I've already done my shtick, introduced the channel, reminded people who my name is, you know, that worldwide audience that I have going here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did briefly tell them that we were having Betty Jo come in, and I briefly had mentioned a couple of your past career choices. But I tell you what, before we launch into talking about the pandemic and anxiety and your perspective, all that stuff, can you give the viewers, and this has gone out beyond our circle now, Betty Jo, so we're growing big, huh?
We are stars.
Yeah, we are. Can you give them a little background, sort of a mini, I lost your picture there, Betty Jo, you okay?
I lost you. There.
It's all good. Can you give us a little synopsis of your resume vitae, if you will, the highlights?
Well, I've always worked with children. I started out as shelter, and then I went to investigating child abuse, and then was a supervisor, and ended up at Head Start, and then at the school system, and then I broadened my horizons and thought I would run for office, and I did, and I won, and I was a magistrate for 6 years, and then I felt like I needed to go back to the school system and work with children.
You wanted to get back into the trenches, so.
Yes, once a social worker, always a social worker.
Not that you ever left the trenches, but you wanted that deeper end there, if you will. So yeah, okay. Right. So that's what I had said in my introduction. I had said that, you know, you've been a social worker and a magistrate, and I didn't know in what capacity you've been a social worker. Now, again, just like I've done before in the past, and like companies do, so that they can tell you what their biases are, their affiliations. Betty Jo and I work together. We are colleagues, and I gotta tell you guys, whoever you guys are listening, she is absolutely one of my favorites. So there is clearly a positive bias from me toward her. I think she's amazing. She's brilliant. I like that she's informed. I like that she has real experience, and I like that her solutions are practical. Yeah, she's got compassion, but this is not a fluff piece. Betty Jo will tell you. Now, if any of you have seen the 3 E's conversation, you know, or some of my other conversations, I should say the third video on Support Network, there are certain people called stabilizers. They'll be sympathetic to you, but they'll also tell you to snap out of it. That's Betty Jo. Now, I'm going to ask her to keep her language clean today because this is kid-friendly video. But
of course.
Just an amazing person. With that, Betty Jo, I'd like to go ahead and launch into it and ask you if you could speak to your personal and or professional experiences with stress, anxiety, and then compare it to what you're seeing or hearing from families during this pandemic.
Well, I'm experiencing myself, you know, everyone, I'm a normal person too. I get upset and sad because.
Now, are you and I really going to use that word, Betty Jo? Are we
Yes.
going to call ourselves normal? I would like to think you're extraordinary. I'm sorry. You go ahead. See, that's the other problem. Betty and I joke all the time. I apologize. I'll be professional in this interview. You go ahead.
Well, I mean, I get sad. I mean, I miss my grandkids. I haven't seen them for 2 months, and I was used to seeing them every week, at least once a week. And, you know, I get sad, but I'm not going to let myself stay there. I mean, life is too short. I mean, let's not joke. Danny, you're getting old, you know, and.
You know what? In several videos now, I've done this, and I've said the gray is real. And trust me, it is.
Well, so, I mean, I just keep myself, you know, my mind right, you know, but there's so many things you can do. Like, I keep myself structured and on a schedule, because if not, I'll lay in bed all day and not want to get up or watch TV. I'm not going to do that. So I just keep myself structured, and I make a plan for every day, what I'm going to do and what I need to get done. And I stick with that. And with kids, you can be so creative. There's, and I exercise. I make sure I get up every morning and I do something. I don't run every day. I run every other day. But the days I don't run, I still want to walk. I do something. I need that air. I need that fresh air.
Now, you talked about structure, and the first thing that popped in my mind is that these times are not the times that we typically would be experiencing in late April, early May. So the structure of the day for children would be school, class, 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 and the structure of the day for the families, if they have a job, would be going to work, or if they're home. I'm wondering how your structure differs Monday through Friday than it used to. Are you borrowing from your weekend structure, your summer structure? What does your structure look like in plain terms that maybe someone else out there could say, oh yeah, I guess I could do that, or I hadn't thought about that?
Well, like you said, I do borrow the things I used to do on weekends, the things I used to do in the evening, I now do. But I take my time and do it. It's no rush. Like when you come home from work, you're rushing to get this done, this done. Now I take my time. If I see like a photo that I haven't seen for a while, I pick it up and look at it before you just structure. When I get up in the morning, I always make sure I have something to do.
So if there were typically 2 or 3 or 5 things on a Saturday that you might do, and I'm going to be stereotypical, feel free to metaphorically virtually slap me or correct me, but if it might be laundry, it might be grocery shopping, it might be mowing the lawn, you're not trying to do those all in one day. You're pacing yourself is what I hear.
I am pacing today I will do the bed sheets and towels.
And that's a big accomplishment. I mean, that's, again, another video that I'm going to put out there on, how to interventions and all that. You set yourself goals. It sounds like you're saying, this is my goal today. If I accomplish nothing else, that's okay. Now,
exactly.
What do you say to these parents to say, okay, that's great, but I have 2 kids, 4 kids, 6 kids, and believe it or not, Babe Joe, I got a couple of families that have double-digit kids. God love them.
Well, you know what? I mean, I had 2 kids, but with snow days, just like snow days. That's what this is. Long snow days.
No, but that's a great analogy.
But whenever I'm home with them, we created things to do. You're not going to sit in front of the TV all day. No, get up here. Of course, if we had snow, we sled ride, we rode bikes, we walked, we talked, we drew pictures. We make cards for somebody. There's so much more you can do that. And I think this is a good time for families in a way. Not that I want an epidemic, of course, but we could open our eyes a little bit more now and see where, organized sports. Now we don't have it right now. What are we doing? Right. We're out there playing ball with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't even know we had so many kids in this neighborhood until this. And that's sad.
But, it's a nice sound, isn't it, to hear kids playing in the yard and things like that?
I mean, there's people older people even riding their bikes and stuff. I'm like, whoa. I mean, it's almost crowded out there.
I hear you talk about it is compelling us to reprioritize. So maybe that's in order. I mean, you and I talk to people all the time that in the normal course, even though we know the word normal is a bad word in our world, but in the normal course of functioning, whatever that means for that individual, be it a student or the parent, you and I are constantly trying to get people to see that maybe this is not as essential or big a deal as they are exaggerating it to be, and that's not meant to be disrespectful or insensitive to anyone. But I hear you say rediscover, reprioritize, smell the flowers. Would that be inaccurate? Are my ears hearing you correctly?
Yes. I mean, slow down, people. Slow down.
Well, yeah, and it's like our own superintendent said in one of his communiques, I believe. It certainly got back to my ears either through the communicator, through reporting by our assistant superintendent, I believe. pace yourself was a phrase that was used, you know. They seem to be very realistic. They seem to understand that, you know, you're not going to crank out the amount of professional work, parenting work, student work that we used to. That's okay. We're trying to look at what's essential here as a community. So how do you advise families on that? How do you advise families to what is essential? And is that the same for everybody?
It's not the same for everyone. What is essential for me might not be for you. Just like what is filth to you might not be to me.
Right.
You know, so essentials depends on the family and their needs. Like I spoke to a student yesterday. I actually got to speak to a student on the phone. I was so excited.
Because that was going to be one of my questions. Good. So they're reaching out to you. Go ahead. Talk about
Yes.
essential in a student. Good.
I spoke with a student yesterday. I'm concerned about her, but she's doing fine. She's doing work. She didn't even do work at school, and she's doing work at home. I'm like, but you know, maybe this is something we need to step back and look at also, that maybe some kids do better not in school.
Well, let's be honest. You and I deal with kids who are generally socially struggling, and we can put a whole bunch of other terms under that umbrella. Certainly socially anxious and withdrawn could be one of them. Struggling to connect socially. So yeah, now they're hopefully, now maybe they're not feeling like the outsider, but now everybody's like them, sort of keeping to themselves, or having, even if they have to keep to themselves. Without discussing the particular child or violating any confidentialities, you use the word fine, and you and I know that that's a value word, a judgment word. But when you say fine, do I understand that that means that you're not hearing the concerns from her that you had been hearing when she was not fine, kind of thing? So
correct.
Okay.
In school, when we were in school, she would come almost every day to see me, like something was wrong, and you know. And now she was out walking, and she seemed happy. I mean, she was laughing, and she was, you know, it was like, oh, you know,
Well,
she doesn't know me.
I like that. I like to hear that. I always like to hear that kids are happy. You know, I saw an article the other day that, and you got to take it with 10 grains of salt. It's a pop psychology article that says this quarantining, this stay-at-home stuff is causing more trauma for kids. And I thought that was an unfair generalization, slant. And it's that writer's perspective. I get that. But you and I know that, just like we said, one person's essential is not another person's. We can't impose how this is making you feel just because it's how it makes me feel, you know.
Correct, because my neighbors down here, they have 2 children, and the oldest one is graduating to be a kindergarten teacher. Those kids are learning so much. They love being home and letting her teach them.
Well,
I mean, they're
go ahead.
Well, they're just being so creative. I mean, they'll call up and want newspaper, and I'm like, what do you want a newspaper for? And they're doing a project.
First of all, 2020, line 100 kids up, and I will put, I don't want to gamble on company time here. I will make a gentleman to Lady bet, no child's going to use the word newspaper. That's not in the vernacular anymore. How awesome is that? I have a question for you, though, because you had earlier said that, in my words, you know, you don't want kids on screens all day long. What do you think about the challenge, though? Nowadays, my TV can be my internet. And quite frankly, if I have the right TV, my TV can be my video phone, my telephone, right? Your phone can be all those things. It can be my TV and my computer. What do you say to parents who say, okay, look, this is what he likes to do. I'm not going to fight him, blah, blah, blah. How can we use that, but beyond what it's used for? Meaning, a lot of my parents are coming back to me and saying, well, he doesn't want to do work on the computer. And my ears are hearing it's because they're used to playing games on the computer. So how do you feel about what if the parents use the TV or the computers for an educational show or video interspersed throughout the mindless leisure activity? If they, like,
Well,
restructuring. How do you feel about repurposing? And be honest.
Yeah, I will. I'm not sure, like, I'm not sure what you're asking.
I did not do a good job of that. I apologize. Let's say parents want to repurpose the screen, okay? And
For
typically,
education.
absolutely. Now, admittedly, I'm not going to sit in front of that TV and watch educational videos for 8 hours. I'll admit that, okay? Not straight anyway. But what if the parent asks you, well, Miss Hirsch, is it okay if I let him watch his favorite show as long as he does a half hour of an educational documentary, or if he does half hour of looking up stuff, research? How do you feel about that way?
Oh, I certainly agree. Yes. I mean, my grandson, my daughter says 30 minutes TV, and then you're going over here and doing this. Or, you know, you can go outside, you go outside for 30 minutes and you can come back in and watch your show.
Okay.
You know, it's vice versa, you know, give and take.
So then I also hear you talking about breaking up the monotony of any structure. No matter what your structure is, I hear you saying don't stay in the same thing all the time. Like, for example, now back in the day, as you said, Betty Jo, I'm not young anymore. Okay, so back in the day, my folks, my dad's side, from south of Logan County there, okay, they kick your butt out and you stay outside in that sun all day long until it's dinner time. Mom would call you for lunch, but you're going right back out, you know. So, but that was also back in the day when I think we might have had 2 or 3 channels on TV, you know.
But we wanted to go outside, you know.
But it was a different time and a different, you know, different programming. So a lot of these kids, I'll admit, even my own child, my own 14-year-old, I think that phone might be a part of her body. Okay, to take that away from her, you would think I was doing surgery on this child. Okay? So I'm trying to think of ways that, you know, because there are now some people outside of our professional circle who've actually gone on and subscribed, which is nice, and viewed. I'm hoping that a family who sees this says, okay, these two are very realistic. Maybe I could get him to use that computer for something other than Call of Duty. Okay.
Research. I mean, seriously, what is something you like? You know, let's just, like, I know one. This is crazy. I don't know this is probably crazy, but the spoon lady playing spoons. Okay, remember that? Okay, listen, my niece, I told her about it. She Googled it and she got a pair, her mom bought her spoons and she actually is playing the spoons.
See,
and
now you're making me want to challenge you that the two of us should learn spoons, and then we'll get on here and we'll do a group video. Okay. I'm telling you that one will trend. Okay.
Yeah. But see, there's something she caught that I said, and she Googled it herself and did research, and now she's playing them.
I know my daughter, apparently YouTube is passe to the younger generation, so I'm going to have to figure out how to make us more attractive to that generation, more attention getting. TikTok seems to be the thing, of course.
Right.
But she has taken to looking up recipes, you know what I mean? Very body image conscious, and all of daddy's worries with that aside, I'll tell you what, she's coming down to the kitchen, man. She's turning into quite the baker and cook, and just I would give her a better grade than not. Most of the stuff she's making is pretty good, you know.
See, and they're finding themselves now too, you know, like figuring out, you know, she does like to cook. I mean, maybe she didn't know that before.
So for those of us watching, even though we've not laid this out there, hey, we're talking about coping strategies right now. To my mind, like I told you, Betty Jo is very practical. And I think we share that in common. However, please know that we are fun-loving, really cool people too, okay? I'm just putting that out there, all right? But
we are fun.
We are, but we are also very solution-oriented. We are about knock off the nonsense, do something then. If you're stressed out, if you're stir crazy, then do something different. Don't continue to sit on the couch and say, I'm stir crazy. You know what I mean? Yes, it might not be something that you have high priority on your list. It might be the 100th favorite thing you want to do. You might want to go weed the garden before you want to do that. But guess what? If you've gone through all 99 things, maybe you should try number 100. Okay. And that's a coping strategy, right? With stress and what have you.
Yes. Yes. Plan a plan. I mean, one plan and watch it. I mean, come on.
I like the outdoor thing. I know my wife is tougher about that than I am. I also hear you and I talk about, we're talking about restructuring, rediscovering, repurposing. And I want to point out to people that as I try to learn the camera here, Betty Jo, I'm still learning on that stuff. But I want to point it out to people that what we're saying is you don't have to go out and buy stuff. You don't have to go out and do something you've never done. It's right there in front of you. You just have to take that moment, be mindful for a moment, stop. Don't think for a moment, just stop, and then start to rediscover and realize that everything that you need is right there in front of you. And maybe you use it in a different way. Maybe it's for a different reason, but
And
honestly, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
And that's another big point. I know people don't have a lot of money. Nobody has a lot of money right now.
right.
You can use things that, okay, just like yesterday, I know I have a lot of examples.
Please.
Some girls got
I want a lot of examples, Betty Jo, for our families.
Well, some girls got together and they were just family girls, their brothers and sisters, and they did facials. And they just did hot towels and some kind of lotion or something, just something they had at their house.
A little pampering, a little appropriate family interaction, no violation of social distancing. It's family. But
right, it's family. And they did facials.
Give us another example of something that people can use as a practical coping strategy for their anxiety or cabin fever, if you will, during this time.
Well, okay. Let's see. Some people, they did facials. They've done, I know, speaking of girls, they did manicure day.
Nice.
Then, let's see, music day. They got together and played their instruments they had in their house.
That's awesome.
They created like a band, Of course, I see them out riding their bikes also a lot. I do see that.
Sure.
I
like all those.
Yeah, there's they cook together. They make slime. And they're 10 and 7. The kids are 10 and 7. They're not
awesome.
older kids. And but the spoon thing really threw me when she Googled that, and then she just, it is funny.
I'm telling you, these kids know these social media platforms better than us.
I know.
You got to get her to try and trend something that has to do with spoons. Maybe she puts a challenge out there, and just it would be so cool to see that, wouldn't it?
I know. She'll be along the road one day having a can, and we'll be putting money in it for her.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, my daughter, I learned the other night because 14-year-old girls can be like 30-year-old women with their dads, okay? If you know what I'm saying. When they want dad, it's all good that I'm in their space. When they don't, what are you doing here? That kind of stuff. However, I was picking her brain on using social media platforms, and she informed me, and we knew she had certain sites and stuff, but she informed me that she had created a TikTok channel. I don't know what you call TikTok, but TikTok channel. And our cat, Jonesy, okay? Rescue cat, by the way, for all those pet lovers out there. Awesome pet. Jonesy has 23.1 thousand followers and over 140,000 views. I'm working on breaking 25. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh.
In the world of millions of cats and millions of teenagers and preteens putting stuff on the internet, how my daughter became this marketing genius, okay? And she just looks at me like, Dad, it's not a big deal. Dad, other people have more. I'm like, well, can I borrow Jonesy for an interview? Okay, because I'm thinking that might boost my trending. Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. We might get one to
No.
20.
But no, you know what? Honestly, Betty Jo, it's had a better response. It is getting a growing response. The interviews are being liked, and I'm transferring this over to LinkedIn, but I want to get lost in that. We'll talk another time about that. But so we are expanding. I'm working on that. But what I'm hoping in this interview is that people really identify with you, both local in our community, but then on that chance that someone outside of our community checks it out. So your coping strategies are very practical, very everyday, very use what you have. redefine. It's almost like redefining yourself. It's kind of like what we try and get these kids to do when they're stressing out that Johnny or Janie doesn't like me. Okay, go for Bobby or Betty. Talk to them, you know, redefine it, right? Okay, replace yourself, repurpose, redefine. Those things are very possible, very feasible. So coping strategies should be practical. Coping strategies should be personally meaningful. Is that, I'm hearing that to you?
Mhm.
If you don't enjoy what I do, then you doing it probably wouldn't help you with the stress.
Right. You know, you gotta think about, just think about yourself. I mean, maybe some people like to read all day long. Well, you know what? I'm too hyper for that. I can't just sit all day. I just can't.
Well, you
And
know,
so that's how.
my daughter uses audible books.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you're the kind of
See.
person, if you're the kind of person that could be doing a craft or something while listening to the book in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And that's what I did with training on here. Why
okay,
I'm listening to training,
right.
I will do something.
Betty Jo, did you just tell our bosses you're not paying attention during training?
I hope not.
That's not what she meant, okay? This is a disclaimer. No.
I pay attention. I'm listening.
All right, now she's telling you she pays attention. Didn't she just tell you she was listening to books? Okay.
Well,
You know what? People will certainly pick up that we're a mess in trainings, okay? They will certainly, all right, those are the two kids in the corner. You need to separate them. So, but, you know what I mean? All right, so look, the next thing in the little script that I had sort of pre-written, but that we can deviate from at any point, are there any passions, positive or negative, anything you want to put out there for families, a worry or a concern? You know, are there passions that you, as a professional in this field, have?
my passion has always been preventing child abuse. And I'm back to reading. I can't remember the author, but The Child Called It. I have all
Yeah.
his books, and he just had another one, and I just finished it yesterday.
Right.
I just have a passion for that, and for children or teenagers sad. I don't want to say depressed, because sometimes they're just sad, and that just
Right.
breaks my heart.
Right.
So sadness in kids and is a passion for me too. I don't hate seeing someone sad.
I just speak to that. Okay. I know the state has definitions on child abuse, what is, what is not. And with the best of intentions, it's wonderful that we have that, but even the wording in that does not specifically encompass everything. It can't. It would miss the point if it was too specific. But what do you say to children or adults who might be dealing with sadness or depression or feeling less than loved? You know, because we don't want to accuse anybody of abuse, you know what I mean?
Right.
But they can't.
Sometimes you have to understand, like, let's just think of the older generation. Let's just say my father. I mean, my father never told me he loved me until I think when I was 40, because they weren't raised to show emotions.
Right. Talk about a practical generation. That's how you showed love. You know what I mean? You provided structure. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's hard because that can make a child sad, like thinking your parents don't love you. But then once you understand why, the way that, you know, the families were brought up. So once you see that, I was determined that I wasn't going to be like that. So my kids probably think I'm crazy because all I said was, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Give me a hug, give me a hug.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then what we do as a living, I'm sure everybody thinks we are very loving people. I was gonna say they might think we're bleeding hearts, but I don't think we're bleeding hearts, but we do care. You know,
I am not a bleeding heart. I would be the first to tell you when I worked as a magistrate. You know what? You did it.
Oh,
This is
God help us.
Yeah,
For
there's consequences.
all you watching, this is probably the part of her that is the plant boot firmly and do a dance, okay? And until you figure out how to straighten up, that boot's going to keep on dancing. But I'm telling you what, her kids and her families respond to it because it's not personal with her. It's not, there's no bias in it. It's just look, stop the nonsense, do what you need to do. I saw an article the other day or a commercial about people being stuck at home with their abusers. And again, we're not accusing anyone of being abusers. However, I wonder if to the children you wouldn't say, because you don't want to dismiss or minimize, you know what I mean? But
Right.
I always talk to children about knowing their audience, you know what I mean? And not to make excuses for any adults who are rougher than perhaps is beneficial. If rougher than, don't know that rough is ever necessary, but less than compassionate, or not as compassionate as their children need. I would say to the children not to take that personally. And I know that's so easy to say and so hard to practice, but how would you help children not take something personally, or not obsess about it? What
See,
could,
and that's like when they would enter into my office and they would tell me, like, well, mom doesn't do this, but you do. And sometimes it made me feel guilty that I
right.
was like, coming across, I don't want to say better than their parent, but
No, but you come across as that perfect, yeah. Not
to
you
them.
personally, but in that session, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's really hard, and for when kids come in and see that, oh, why can't my mom be like that?
Well, see, now that's the nice, easy version of when someone feels neglected or sad or, God forbid, abused. I I would much rather deal with a perspective taking thing. Let's say it's not a parent who's being physically or sexually abusive, but rather just a parent who's sort of missing the opportunity or dropping the ball on paying attention or showing compassion in that moment.
Mhm.
God knows, if I interrupt my wife and my daughter's show, oh my God, okay, I might as well just put rocking chairs on every animal's tail in the world, okay? But if I'm in the middle of my show, or not that we have it right now, football game, and my daughter wants to show me something, I've got to consciously make that effort not to immediately shush her, get her out, although I do fail sometimes, I do that sometimes, and I got to recognize, wait a minute, this 14-year-old who's had nothing to do with me, no desire to have anything to do with me all day long, is giving me 30 seconds. And while that might sound desperate for attention, and I suppose it could be looked at like that, that's my opportunity as a parent to show love, so that that child knows that I do love her, care about her, etc. So going back to your point of rediscovering opportunities, rediscovering, redefining how we interact. Um, what do you say to the adults that are stressed out and they have the intrusive thoughts, worrying about paying for things where they don't have any income coming in? How can they keep from transferring that to their children?
Oh,
Tough, loaded question, I know. Tough.
that's a tough one. The best thing for parents to do if they're stressed about money and rent and all that, prioritize what needs to be paid first.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to be evicted at this point. I think that's what, is that true? You can't be evicted right now. So
I've
I would,
heard, right. I think that's federal, so it's coming down.
yeah. So
Yeah.
don't pay your house payment and buy your food,
Right.
because you're not going to be evicted right now.
However,
I mean,
I would suggest, I would ask you as a social worker, and this is really what I wanted to get in with you, is the more practical, because you know the system, you know the resource out there. I would say at least communicate with your landlord, at least communicate with your mortgage company.
oh, certainly. Oh, certainly. But I don't want to say do research, but finances, I would call someone about my finances. And I mean, some people I know think that's a big talk, like finances, but I don't mean it to be that way. But sometimes someone might give you advice that
You're not,
handles.
you're not telling me I got to call E.F. Hutton or my accountant. You're
No,
telling me call somebody in my support network, which is, I'm glad you said
yeah.
it. I wanted to segue there and ask you about using support networks. So if this adult is stressed out, because we still, as adults, we have all these concerns that hopefully our children never have to think about or never realize until they are adults. we buffer them from a lot that they don't realize, you know. What do you use as a support network, if I may ask you to role model that example for parents out there?
What
When,
do I use?
yeah, who, what, you know, because to me, support network is people, place, and things. You know what I mean? That place in your house where you can go hold up and get some privacy. That thing that, you know, if you have something that gives you security, your favorite book, a child has a blanket, that kind of thing.
Ooh.
Or there's people.
Well, I'm finding myself too. Right now, I'm closer to my sister-in-law than I've ever been.
Nice.
And
this is new during this pandemic?
yes.
Nice, nice.
And I don't like to watch TV very much.
Okay.
And I don't like serious things but I found one show that takes me away. And
oh
I
my
don't
God.
want, yeah.
If you say the show, I think you're going to say Betty Joe. Go ahead. Are you willing to say what show?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Heart of Dixie.
Oh no. Oh my God. I love that show. Does that make me corny? I grew up watching that show. Oh my God. All right. Now look, those women are beautiful. So those young men, and I'm Southern ancestry. You know my background. Dad's from West Virginia, mom's from Alabama, and everybody everywhere in between. Of course, nobody could live on the beach. What the heck is up with that? We couldn't get one beach house in the entire family? Whatever. Okay. But oh my God, yeah, I loved Heart of Dixie. No, I thought you were going to say Tiger King. I was going to lose my mind.
No way.
But you know what? A lot of our families are out there watching that. And I'm okay. Those families who are watching it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, watch it.
Some episodes. Well, one of my families suggested that I would enjoy it as a psychologist and I could analyze and identify everybody. Oh my God, there's too much crazy in that show. Okay, try running a group with that bunch of people, man.
Yeah, no, I won't.
Oh, Heart of Dixie's sweet. That's nice.
I know. I love it. It just makes me feel happy.
Now, are you and the sister-in-law bonding together over that show, or that's just an additional thing you're doing for support?
Actually, I'm ahead of her on the show, so I can't tell her what's.
Oh
See what I mean?
I love that show, man.
Yes.
We are not 19 anymore. You know how many people out there, even the 20 and possibly 30-year-olds, saying, "Heart of what? What? What are they talking about?" Man, you children don't know. Okay.
No, and you know what, guys? And if it's raining outside, don't tell me that. Oh, I'm bored. Blah blah blah. Yesterday it was raining. Guess what I did? I got on YouTube and I did Zumba.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say you walked in the rain. Just cut. Okay. Right.
Well, I like to run in the rain when it's warm, but no, I did Zumba.
Don't let something be an excuse for doing nothing, is what I hear you say.
Right. I mean.
However, back to what you said originally, sometimes it's okay to do nothing. Besides prioritizing and repurposing and redefining, I'm hearing you say that you really got to find a balance, and that balance is very personal.
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
You got to know yourself. You know what?
And I know each other really well, so I think we could translate each other pretty well.
And I have discovered things about myself that I went, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like chalk painting my frames that I thought didn't look right with the picture and changing it. You know?
So it's not abnormal if I take pictures of Brad Pitt out of the People magazine and put it over my face? That's okay?
Oh, that's fine.
If I do that, I promise I'll put that on the Facebook so everybody else can see it, okay? You can have a good time. Whenever somebody tells me to smile in a picture or what have you, I just go ahead and put Brad Pitt's face in there. We look alike.
Oh. What's that show Pretty Woman? What was her name?
Oh my God, how can we not think of this?
I know.
I love her.
I do too.
You know how many people are screaming at the screen right now?
I know. Darn.
I can't think of it. You know how old I am? The name Julie Andrews comes into mind. That's not the right one. That's sounded me. Okay. I'm way off in my generations. Roberts. Her last name is Julie Roberts. Last name is Roberts? Is it Julie?
Julia Roberts, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
See, so Julie Andrews wasn't too much of a senile moment, okay? In all fairness. I had the sound in there.
You're doing good.
Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, I believe.
Yes, Richard Gere. When I say,
oh, listen to you, drool. Okay.
Kid Rock's my ex-husband. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, really? Okay, I like it. I can see that. we should put a vote on Facebook. Matter of fact, maybe when I post this video, I'll say, look, there's a little snippet in here where Betty Jo talks about her next husband. See if you can find it. Would that be okay? We have a little
Yeah.
fun. We have a little fun with that, and then
Yes.
we'll have a vote on whether they think that, you know. Of course, you know. Anyway, we'll get into that conversation another time. Hey, let's wrap this up by you giving me some practical resources. As a magistrate and a social worker, I'm hoping you know the community resources, even if it's just the general offices to call. What are some places, some people, some resources that our families can connect with, or our professionals, either for themselves or trying to help families? What are some resources people can connect with if they're financially struggling, if they're food insufficient, those kind of things? Or maybe the children are out of control and they need someone to come in and help, like a wraparound service. What are some resources families can connect with?
Well, you know, everybody knows you have East Ridge, but don't ever forget our churches. I mean, they're really out there
And
wanting
they want to help.
Yeah, there's food. I don't understand how much money, because they, you know, they're very careful who they're going to give money to because of,
Right.
you know, misuse. But there's food. There's churches, and they have food, and just like if you have a friend, or if your kids are driving you crazy,
Right.
you know, put us on. I mean, call us. I mean,
Right, call us.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll tell you my number now, 304-582-1012. It's no secret.
There you have it, folks.
Call,
Yes,
text
and
me.
they can go to, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe that families can go to school district websites and they can search staff, they can search whoever. If you don't know who to call somebody, get started somewhere. You know what I mean?
Someone will get you somewhere where you belong.
Right, reach out to your teachers. If your kid has worked with their social worker in school, call that person. If that person doesn't know, we're all out here wanting to help. You know, teachers are doing more than teachers do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Social workers, everybody is being more than just that one role. Everybody is very much so wanting to help and support families. Betty Jo, is there anything else you want to talk about? Are you doing any private practice work? Are you doing anything else?
Well, I've done a home study for adoption,
Okay.
and looks good. She's a single mom, and I was like, but I did it for her, and you know what? She's getting 2 children, adopting.
So I'm going to show my ignorance. When you say you've done a home study on behalf of whatever agency said, hey, we need a home for this child, you went out and looked at a home to see if it would be a good placement?
Right, but actually in the state of West Virginia, you have agencies who does adoptions, but in state of West Virginia, a social worker can do a home study and charge to people, and they can adopt privately, and that's what, you know, they're not going through an agency or anything. They're just a family that's not wants to give up their kids, and you know, all you need is an attorney, and you go to court, and it's done.
So if there were families out there wanting to do stuff like this, would you mind giving out your name and number one more time for them? We'll wrap that up after that, so that's what they remember.
It's Betty Jo Hirsch. My number is 304-582-1012.
All right, guys. For the worldwide audience that's been watching this, and for every one of you who actually has been watching us, please share this. Put this out there. Hopefully it was at least interesting, engaging. Hopefully it maybe sparked some ideas. Betty Jo's given her number a couple different times. Feel free to go back to this video, find it, reach out to her. Even if you're in a different state, she has an understanding of the system. She can give you the title or type of person you might need to reach out to, okay? Just like I could as a psychologist tell you, well, maybe you should go to a clinical psychologist versus a neuropsychologist. Betty Jo is going to understand the system better than most people. Please, please, please reach out to people. Don't feel isolated during this time. Betty Jo, stay with me. I'm going to go ahead and end this recording. Everybody's been watching. Thank you very much.